Welcome to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel Jackson. And in this space, we do life together, we grow together, and we heal together. And sometimes that leads to a change of heart. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel. And if you're joining me for the first time, hey girl, welcome to the potty. If you're a returning listener, hey girl, hey, welcome back. So I've been trying to get the final episode of season 5 done for a while now, and the struggle has been real. I had every intention of this being a video episode and not just an audio only episode. However, it was getting to the point where it's like we're either going to wrap up the last season with an episode, whether it's audio, video, whatever, or we ain't gonna have a last episode at this point. And so the last couple of weeks have just been busy. My sister got married, so that was a busy week and weekend. And I typically try to record on weekends, and time just got away from me. So here we are. But today we're going to wrap up season 5 just with a couple of things that I have had a perspective shift on throughout this season, some things that have helped me to process different things. And I wanted to share that with you all. So we're going to talk about that. But first, girl, let me tell you something. So I was trying to decide what I wanted to do for the girl, let me tell you something, because they're always pretty random for the most part. I'll typically share something that I've seen, something I've come across, something that I am like really invested in right now. And I didn't know what I was going to talk about for the final episode. And something said, just tell the truth and let people know where you are. And so that's what my girl, let me tell you something's going to be. A couple of episodes ago, I decided after I finished the last episode of this season, I was going to step away from like everything. And listen, if you follow me on social media, you know I've been did that for real. Me and social media, I just feel really disconnected from it, and I have for a while. But I just feel like I'm in a space right now where I'm not necessarily solely trying to figure out like what's next. God, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to be? What do I need to be focusing on? But more so just in a position where I want to work on myself, but also kind of start like, I don't want to say starting over or starting fresh, because I'm not necessarily getting rid of anything. However, I haven't posted on my Change Hearts YouTube page in years, which is crazy for me to say, but maybe a couple months ago, I went through and made all of the videos private except for like the last 3 or 4 recent videos. And I felt like let me say this. My reasoning for that is because over the last year to even maybe 3 years, really, I feel like I've gone through this process of unlearning a lot of things. And I'm not saying that things that I shared from the Change Hearts page, I don't believe in it anymore. I'm not necessarily saying that. However, there were certain beliefs that I had, certain things that I followed or subscribed to, for lack of better words, that in developing more of like an intimate and personal relationship with God, it's like some of that stuff is definitely more of an opinion thing, more of a preference thing versus a biblical thing. And some of these things that I was like really gung-ho on was rooted in like a perfectionist mindset or something that felt, I don't want to say unachievable, but unachievable for lack of better words. And I wanted to, instead of going through and watching every single video and trying to figure out like, okay, are we good with this content? Do we want to keep this? Should we delete this? Should we I said, let's make everything private right now. And then at some point when I feel led to, we'll restart and we'll go from there. But I say all of this to say, y'all, I don't know when season 6 coming out. Okay. I wouldn't expect it this year. I don't know that to be true for sure, but I really just want to take some time to step back from everything. I don't have to create anything. I don't have to produce anything. I just have to allow God to deposit in me what he needs to work in me, what he needs to heal me, deliver me in areas. And that's where my focus is right now. And so, yeah, I'm sharing that to say, I don't know when season 6 is going to come. I'm sure that this season will bring lots of content for season 6, lots of things to talk about. But for right now, I'm really just in a space where it's like, okay, I just want to really make sure that I am where God wants me to be, doing the things that He wants me to be, and that I'm also really intentional about making sure that the relationship that I have with Him is a relationship and it's not something that is coming from a place of me always striving, but me always pursuing Him and being connected with Him. And so, yeah, that's my girl. Let me tell you something. So, as I mentioned earlier, today we're going to be talking about just some things that have come up throughout this season for me as we have been talking about pursuing purpose, living a life that is poured out, really just being intentional about being who it is that God has called you to be. And as I have been just thinking about this season, thinking about the different things as far as pursuing purpose, there were a couple of things that stood out or that kind of like gut checked me and helped to not just shift my perspective, but somewhat give me a new way of how I am pursuing different things, pursuing purpose, and just a new level of intentionality. And so, one of the first things that really checked me recently is the want factor. And what I mean by the want factor. So let me give you some context to how we came to this revelation. My husband and I, we didn't take our actual honeymoon when we first got married back in November. We did like a little mini moon in North Carolina, and then we decided that we were going to take like our real honeymoon this year. And so we're going in September, and I'm super excited about it. However, also, I told y'all, your girl has been eating good. Your girl has been gaining the weight that I've been trying to gain forever. And with that, I want to be snatched for my honeymoon. And I want to make sure that like I feel good, that I look good. I'm not necessarily trying to lose a certain amount of weight. I'm not focused on a scale number. My goal more so is, like I said, feeling good and looking good. In addition to that, there's also, so my husband loves hiking. I'm not that girl. However, there's a hiking trail where we're going that is apparently really nice. I knew that that would be something that he wanted to do. And I didn't want to not be able to do it because I'm like out of breath, I'm out of shape, it's a lot. And the hike is moderate to hard. So it's not like an easy hike. So I had already decided that, okay, I'm going to start not necessarily training, but just trying to like get my endurance up, more intentional about my cardio. And then, so we decided to turn this into a little challenge because both of us are trying to like tone up, get in shape, all of those things. And so we still haven't really decided what the determining factor is as far as who wins, but the idea is who is in the best shape by the time we go on our honeymoon. And here's the thing, my husband's job requires him to work out. So this man works out on a pretty consistent basis, like at least like 4+ times a week. Y'all know I'd be struggling in that area. But the thing is, where he works out a lot more than I do, I eat healthier more than he does. And so what we decided is whoever wins this challenge is responsible for paying for like whatever the expensive dinner is. But he also says he wants like one of us, like whoever wins has to like pick the other person's outfit. It's supposed to be like a funny outfit and you actually got to wear it in public. And so that thing has put this like motivation and drive inside of me that I got to beat this man. Like I got to come with it. And so I've been more intentional about working out, eating healthier. I'm not necessarily like completely sticking to my eating goals as I had intended to, but I have been meeting my workout goals. And as someone who does not enjoy working out, girlfriend, been putting in the work, okay? I'm very proud of myself. I've been going to the gym at least 3 times a week, trying to make sure I'm getting my steps in, doing all the things. And so I was thinking about that maybe like a month or so ago. I was talking to one of my friends about this, and I was telling her, girl, like I do not like working out. There are a lot of things that I do not enjoy, and working out, top 3 for sure, is not something that I want to do, is not something I like to do. It is a press for me to work out. But I've been really motivated lately because I want to beat my man. And as I was talking to her about it, I was telling her that I realize that when it comes to doing something, even if you don't want to do it, there has to be a want factor. But it can't just be a thing of like, oh, I want to do this. That's cute. But you also have to identify, why do I want to do this? What is my reasoning that I want to do this? Because that is what is going to drive your ability, your motivation, your want to do it. And I was telling her, one, I want to prove him wrong because he doesn't think that I'm going to be like more in shape than he is. But I got a strategy to this thing, okay? I know I cannot beat him when it comes to working out, but I got a different strategy than he does. And so I was telling her, like, that's a motivating factor for me. And then also, I want to look a certain way on the beach, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I do not feel guilty about that. I want to feel comfortable in my bathing suit. I want to feel comfortable in what I'm wearing. Like I said, I want to feel good. I want to look good. And I'm not someone who is self-conscious in my body, but when you are heavier than you've been, you are like a little bit more self-aware in areas. And I don't want to feel like that when I'm on vacation on somebody's beach. And then I was telling her too, I don't want to pay for this dinner. And I don't want him to dress me up in something crazy. I don't want to do any of that. And so even when I don't feel like going to the gym, that's my push. That's my want. That's my want factor. I bring all of this up because for some of you, the reason why you're not motivated, the reason why you're not yet fully walking in your purpose or being who it is that God created you to be, because you don't really know what your want factor is. You don't know why you want this. You don't have a driving factor behind it. And I was even telling my friend, when I had this revelation, something that really checked me was I was being consistent with the gym, but I wasn't being consistent with my quiet time. I wasn't being consistent in how I was initiating my time with God. And I realized that that is something that I really do have to press into. That is something that I really have to push beyond how I'm feeling, because listen, specifically when it comes to praying, reading your Bible, fasting, all of that, you just because you're trying to do those things, you're going to get tired, you're going to get distracted, you're going to have all these other things to do. There is a level of intentionality that has to come with that. And I was telling my friend that I had to revisit and really identify what is my want factor to continue to grow in my relationship with God, because it's very easy to get stagnant. It's very easy to just get into a routine of things and you just do things to check something off of your to-do list. But having that relationship, that requires work, that requires motivation, that requires you trying something different, doing something you've never done before. And as you are pursuing purpose, as you are becoming the woman who God created you to be, I really want you to take the time to think about, what is my want factor? Why do I want this? Because if you can't identify that, you're always going to fall off. You're always going to quit. You're always going to give up on it because you have nothing driving you. When you identify what your want factor is, and let me couple it with this, when you identify what your want factor is and you also believe in it, it's not just that you want something, but you believe that you can do it. You attach the want to your faith. You attach both of them together. It's not necessarily that you're always going to be motivated, but it'll give you a push when you don't feel like pushing. It'll give you a press when you don't feel like doing something. And sometimes you need that because, like I said, you're going to be tired, you'll get distracted, things will come up, life is going to happen. Life is not going to just stop happening because you are trying to pursue purpose, because you're trying to have a healed girl summer, because you're trying to be who God created you to be. life is still going to happen. You're going to have things that come up that try to detour you, that try to get you off track, but continue to pursue it. You have to allow your want and your belief in what you want to trump how you feel in moments, what you're going through. And I'm not saying that you just press all the time, because that's not healthy either. Take the time to process what you need to. Take the time to take a moment if you need to. But at the end of the day, we have to identify what is my want factor so that I can be intentional about going towards that and pursuing the things that I'm supposed to be doing in this season versus quitting or giving up every time things get hard or I just don't feel like doing it. All right, so the next thing that I want to talk about, it actually came from a YouTube video that I watched by Nona Jones. And a lot of the things that I'm talking about today are like relationship specific, but I'm not necessarily making it about relationships, so just follow me. Her and her husband just recently had their 20-year anniversary. So the video was pretty much talking about just lessons from 20 years of marriage. And one thing that she said that I was like, girl, that is so good, and not just applicable to relationships, but also applicable to us as far as we are like becoming who we're supposed to be, pursuing purpose, living poured out, all those things. And so she was saying, for context, that her and her husband were going through marriage counseling at some point. She pretty much said that both of them were doing or saying things to trigger one another, but either they weren't like realizing it or couldn't see like how they were triggering the other person. So it was just kind of like this cycle just that continued. And so when they were in marriage counseling, it was something that she said, and the therapist asked her husband, what did you hear her say? And what he responded was not what she said, like at all. And she said, a lot of times we don't listen to hear, we're hearing what we believe. And I was like, ooh, 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 ooh. Like I said, obviously that is a great takeaway for relationships, because a lot of times when you are upset, when you are frustrated, when you all are having confrontation, conflict, whatever it might be, when someone is trying to explain to you something that has bothered them that they don't like, you may not hear what they're saying. You're hearing what you believe. Not just what you believe they're saying, but you're hearing what you believe about yourself or what you believe about that person. And so an example to make this applicable to us individually and not solely just a relationship thing is thinking about it from the sense of you're not listening to hear, you're hearing what you believe. For some of you, the reason why you have not yet pursued purpose, why you have not yet fully became who God created you to be, because when people tell you that you're called, that you're anointed, that you have purpose, you don't hear that. You hear what you believe in the sense of, I can't be called because I've done too much wrong. I can't have a purpose because I feel lost. I feel like I don't know who I am. I feel disconnected from God. And so it's like you can even read your Bible and read about who God says you are. You can read about who you will become, what it is that you have power and authority in because of who you are in Him. But what you believe, you can read all of that and internalize it and say, this doesn't apply to me because of X, Y, or Z. Even though you've read it and you've heard it, someone has said it to you, but you detach from what they're saying and you hear it through the lens of what you believe. And this is something that is not just detrimental in relationships, because obviously in a relationship setting, if you simply just hear what you believe, one, you're hearing through a trauma lens, and that in itself is something that is dangerous, because you can take a person's heart, their intentions, what they're saying, and completely not just misconstrue it, but you take it to a place that hurts you, even when the person's intention was not to hurt you. And catch this, what they may have said wasn't wrong or wasn't even hurtful, but because it triggered something in you, because that's an area of trauma for you, you view it through your trauma lens. You can't have a healthy conversation with it because you're taking it and personalizing it as an attack when it really is a conversation that's trying to help you all. And as we are pursuing purpose, as we are trying to grow and be who it is that God created us to be, I feel like a lot of times as people are speaking life into us, as we're even listening to podcasts and hearing how you can be this, you can do this, you can do all the things, literally. We hear that, but we don't believe it applies to us. And so it's almost like you reject something that is for you, even a word that is for you, because you're hearing it, but you don't believe that you're qualified. You don't believe that you're good enough. You don't believe that you fit the part to do the thing that you know that you're supposed to. And so you disregard it, or you even put up like a defense mechanism because you feel like, well, if I don't do the thing, then I can't fail. If I don't start, I don't have to worry about failing. If I don't put all my effort into this thing, then I don't have to worry about it falling through or it not going as planned. If I don't actually step up and do something I've never done before, then I don't have to worry about feeling disappointed. But we can miss out on the fullness of actually living a life that is fulfilled because we're trying so hard not to fail. We're trying so hard not to be disappointed. And I can understand that, but in the same breath, don't miss what God is trying to do in you in this season because you're hearing or seeing through a lens of trauma. So when someone is speaking life into you, when someone is telling you what they see, I see you doing this, I see you being this, I see that you're capable of doing these things. I know it's easy to have a response, but how? Because I don't even feel like I'm in a space where that's even possible right now. So what you mean, you see me being this, you see me doing that. I remember, and this was actually recently, someone prophesied something to me, and I remember like thinking, how is that going to happen? Because I feel disconnected in that particular area. So like, how is that going to come to pass? But that is, again, me. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not receiving it because I believe this can't happen because of where I'm at right now. Something I had to check my heart on and check my spirit on because I don't want to reject anything that you have for me, God, because of my unbelief or a belief that I have that makes me feel like, oh, this can't happen because this hasn't happened yet, or this won't happen because of where I am, whatever it might be. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Last thing that I want to talk about. So I've talked about this before at great lengths, but I still want to touch on it because it's a conversation that I've had with a few different women somewhat recently. And that is really owning and being okay with who you are. I cannot stress that enough. I know a lot of times as we are maturing, as we are growing, as we are shedding and really just becoming the women who God created us to be, as we are really just it's not even a thing of pursuing purpose, but really just coming into our own, being who it is that He has called us to be. For some of us, that is a drastic change from who we were. And it's a drastic shift in how we act, how we show up, how we talk, how we engage with people. And it can make you feel like, I want to show up in a way that isn't too much, or I don't want people to feel like, I'm doing too much, or I've changed, or that I'm this, or that I'm that. And it can make you feel like you want to shrink. Baby, when I tell you it's never, ever going to be a season to shrink, but this particular season, this ain't the time for that. You have to be comfortable in who you are, not just who you are, but also showing up as who you are. Are you going to have flaws? Are there going to be things that you need to improve, adjust, work on? Absolutely. That's all of us. Ain't nobody showing up completely perfect. I don't care what they portray. I don't care what they want you to believe. No one is showing up 100% perfect. But some of you are not fully walking in your purpose or fully being who God created you to be because you're so worried about how it's going to be received. You're so worried about what people are going to say, what they're going to think, and how they're going to look at you that you feel like you have to show up as a lesser version of you. If you don't show up at the 100% no. If you don't give people this 100% every single time, when I say give them 100%, I'm not saying you got to be on all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we have to move from a place of shrinking to make other people feel comfortable. Because the thing is, as you become who God created you to be and you know that you are in alignment with that, you can't hide what's on the inside of you. And the more you hide on the inside of you, it literally becomes this thing where it's like you feel the tension inside. You feel the inner conflict because you know that you're not being your authentic self. You know you're not being who God told you to be. And so instead of just showing up, being who it is that you're supposed to be, operating in your assignment and doing that to your best ability, you feel like you have to water it down. How dare you show up as the great value version? Girl, what? We're not doing that. No, ma'am. We're not doing that. You show up as the full price branded version that you are as a daughter of God. And you don't have to downplay that. You don't have to minimize it. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to show up in a way that is digestible for other people. And let me also say this. Sometimes even in like the Christian community, you showing up as your full self, people can have good intentions, but they can say things that can kind of like, it comes across in a way that's hard to receive. Don't allow that to deter you either. Be who God created you to be, even if it looks different, even if it's not how everybody else is doing it. Good. That's a good thing. Be who God created you to be and don't be afraid to walk in the fullness of that. I really, really, really cannot say enough or stress enough. I don't want you all to miss out on what God is desiring to do in you specifically in this season because you are trying to mimic someone else. You're trying to operate in the same way that someone else does because it worked for them or because this is what is quote unquote the acceptable way to do things. Dead that. I want you to feel comfortable and confident being who God created you to be. Allowing him to do the inner work for sure, to change things that need to be changed, heal things that needs to be healed. But ultimately, as you begin to really just walk in the authenticity of who it is that you were always created to be, don't you dare allow yourself to shrink to make other people okay with who you are, because that's a lesser version of who you are. We need you to be who you fully are, not a lessened version of you, but who you fully are. Are you always going to feel 100% confident in who you are? No. There are going to be times where you question. There are going to be times where you wonder, like, am I doing too much? Is this what I'm supposed to do it? I don't know. Send help. I get it. Trust me when I say I get it. But at the end of the day, when you know who you are and when you know that you're in alignment with God, that's really all that matters. And I just want to encourage you to not shrink in this season, to get real confident, real comfortable in showing up as your full self, as your authentic self, as who you are, and allowing God to peel back the layers of you, allowing God to create a space of vulnerability and transparency, and really just being able to show up as you unapologetically without trying to make edits to be what is quote unquote acceptable or even the norm. We don't want the Chat GPT version of you that is polished and all put together and pretty. We want the version of you who God created you to be, and understanding that that is enough. even in your flaws, even in the things you don't get right, even in you having to relearn things, unlearn things, make adjustments, make mistakes, we want you to show up in the fullness of who you are. All right, ladies, I hope you all have enjoyed season 5. I know we're a little all over the place this season, but I really do appreciate those of you who tune in, whether you watch, listen. I really appreciate you all just being a part of the growth of A Change of Heart podcast. And I look forward to whatever the next is as far as the podcast, Change Hearts as a whole. I know that there is more to come, and I'm excited to see what that more is. I hope you all have an amazing week. Enjoy your summer, and until next time, don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic. Bye. Thank you for tuning into A Change of Heart podcast. I hope you were encouraged, and please take a moment to share with a girlfriend. Also, I'd love to connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram at @AngelSharon_ and at A Change of Heart podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Angel Sharon. Have an amazing week, and until next time, don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.